In the past, in the last few years, we've been hit by a lot of weather-related storms. But on March the 1st of this year, we may be hit by a financial storm, one that will severely impact our region. As you know, we have a large number of federal employees here. But the problems and the impact really go beyond that, to everyday workers, to our tax base, to small businesses, you name it, will be hit, and hit quite severely. Our uniform message this afternoon, at least this morning, is to inform you about the impacts of that, so that you can start to see a face and understand the impacts that will come as a result of the Congress' failure to deal with the sequester. We know that there are some serious challenges at the national level. We understand that a resolution must come soon, but we believe that time is now to act, that the impact to us cannot simply wait. We cannot continue to push this down the road. We need action, and we need a fair and balanced approach to resolve this. March the 1st, if Congress does not act to prevent the impending sequestration, our counties, the Washington, D.C. region, and the local jurisdictions, and the state overall will be hit. I want to thank my fellow county executives, Rushern Baker and Ken Ulman, as well as Council President Nancy Navarro and members from the local chambers for joining us today. But to give you an indication of what we're talking about, in Montgomery County alone, 47,000 federal workers and thousands of businesses that contract with them will be impacted. In FY 2012, Montgomery County alone had $5 billion, I repeat that, $5 billion with a B, in prime federal contracting awards that will be adversely affected as well. The potential for 20 days of pay or reduced pay or pay elimination by federal employees will have a devastating impact. For Montgomery County alone, in terms of its tax base, each day, based on our estimates, is approximately $500,000. That's a day. Each day is $500,000. That's a huge impact. I want to thank our representatives at the federal level who've been working on this, especially Senator McCoskey, who has been working hard to pull together many of the people in our caucus and others to try to bring some sanity to this real difficult problem here. She has a very tough job. I'm joined today by members of the federal congressional staff, Ken McManus from Chris Van Hollen's office, Ken Richard from Senator Cardin's office, and Courtney Samuels from Senator McCoskey's office. I now will call on County Executive Baker to give his impressions.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you all for being here this morning. I want to thank County Executive Leggett for pulling us together. Certainly want to thank my good friend Ken Ulman and Nancy Navarro, the chair of the council here, and the chamber for being here. For us in Prince George's County, to give you a sense of the federal impact, is for us approximately $14 billion in federal spending annually in Prince George's County, approximately $3 billion in federal spending on salaries and wages in the county. 10 days of furloughs equal $120 million in lost income in federal employees for the county. Approximately $5 billion annually in federal procurement spending in the county. A 5% reduction in procurement spending equals $250 million in lost revenues to the local economy for us in Prince George's County. 10% of the county's job workforce are federal jobs. That's approximately 27,000 jobs out of almost 300,000 total jobs in the county. Approximately 16% of the county's civilian employees population, 16 years and older, are federal employees. Approximately 71,000 out of 400,000 total civilian employed population. A 5% reduction in housing choice vouchers program funding equals potentially 250 low-income families without financial assistance for their housing costs. Approximately $5 million in reduction in federal education aid. That's $1.5 million in special education aid, $1.5 million in Title I funding, $500,000 in Head Start funding, and $250,000 in teacher equality grants. That gives you a sense of the impact of this sequestration on Prince George's County. For us, like our surrounding jurisdictions, we depend on the federal government. The uncertainty that Congress is having on us right now is the biggest problem we have. We've just finished a couple of months ago going up to Wall Street and assuring them that we could survive what's going on at the federal level. What we can't survive is the uncertainty. So we need Congress to act, and to act strongly. I, too, want to add my thanks to Senator Mikulski and our federal partners for not only holding hearing, but to bring a face to what this is. These are not just numbers on a paper. This is not just petty politics between people on down on Capitol Hill. These are actual folks who will not be able to pay their mortgage, pay their rent, or teachers who won't get grants or housing vouchers that will go unfilled. So we want Congress to act, and we need them to act now and not to wait for March 1st. Thank you.
County Executive Kim Ulman from Howard County.
Great. Thank you, and thank you very much to County Executive Leggett for pulling us together this morning. Thank you to good friend County Executive Rushern Baker. I want to thank the folks from the chambers who are here, who you'll hear from in a moment, and the council chair, Nancy Navarro. Great to be with you. I also want to add my thanks to Senator Mikulski especially and our entire federal delegation for focusing on this important issue. You've heard from both county executives how important this is for Montgomery and Prince George's County. Howard County is in a very similar circumstance. In fact, almost 50,000 Howard County workers, almost 50,000 Howard County residents have a job that is tied to the federal government, either as a direct employee or working for a private sector company that does contracting work to the federal government. Much of that work is done through Fort Meade. You read the press this morning. You read about, whether it be in the New York Times or Washington Post or any of the others, about this new report that directly connects cyber hacking to the Chinese military. Could this really be a time when we're going to cut back the work that's done at Fort Meade? I mean, what planet are we living on that anyone would think it would make sense to reduce the workforce of people that are working every day to protect our networks from cyber hacking, cyber theft? I mean, I think for those of us here, we're on sort of parallel universes. We're working very hard to make sure our schools are strong and make sure our communities are safe and focusing on public safety. And at the same time, because of this federal uncertainty, we're sort of doing our jobs with one hand tied behind our back. We've got to get through this, and we've got to get through it quickly. This is about, as County Executive Baker just said, moms and dads who will wake up in a couple months and not have a job. This is about people who will be starting to take massive furloughs, layered on the fact that there is so much work that is spread throughout our communities, whether it be in Howard County. We have 6,000 people who work at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, which gets almost $1 billion worth of federal research grants, some in the military, some not in the military. Huge impacts. And yes, you're going to hear from folks from the Chamber of Commerce. Those are people who can't eat at a restaurant, can't buy a car, and it affects our economy throughout. So we're here to say we need a balanced approach, and we got to get it done soon. You know, we got a lot of hardworking men and women who are relying on their government at the federal level to do the job that they were elected to do. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Council President Nancy Navarro.
Good morning. I just want to highlight the work of the County Council in collaboration with Executive Leggett in the last 3 years. As we have navigated this very difficult time, what we did was to roll up our sleeves and look at structural changes to our finances, as well as raise revenues. And it was not an easy task for us, but this is the reason why we can say that Montgomery County today starts to see a little bit of a glimmer of hope down the road in terms of our financial status and our economic recovery. Nonetheless, it is interesting to note that Montgomery County, a wealthy county, does have about 30% of its students qualifying for free and reduced meals. 80% of those students actually qualify for free meals. We are a county like many other across the nation who are trying very hard to do the right thing, to collaborate, to put politics aside, and to work very diligently to make the decisions that will put the county in its best foot forward. But we can't afford what's happening. We cannot afford to invest in our economic infrastructure and also invest in our social infrastructure if we're now in this holding pattern with the federal government and with folks in Congress not deciding to act. I will also say that, yes, Senator Mikulski, Congressman Van Hollen, our federal delegation has worked very diligently. We appreciate what they have done, but this is real for Montgomery County. We are definitely anxious in terms of what's going to happen on March 15th. The council will receive the budget request from Executive Leggett. We have no idea what will occur. We have no idea how many businesses are basically reevaluating whether they want to come to Montgomery County or stay in Montgomery County or perhaps, address that expansion they've been waiting for. This is real for us here. And I think it's important to remember that this particular inability to act affects not just counties like Montgomery County, but also the country as a whole, as we are seen around the world as perhaps not being as strong and not being as decisive as we need to be in these uncertain times. So we urge our federal folks out there to act, Congress to act immediately so that we can continue here in Montgomery County and many other counties, as you have just heard from Executive Rushern Baker and Ulman, to continue to do the very hard work of governing, which is what we were elected to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Social services, educational, health, safety, defense, our food supply, medical research, law enforcement, travel, nearly every aspect of our day-to-day lives will see an impact, reduction, and higher prices. To speak to those kinds of impacts, I want to hear now from the Chamber. We have both the Montgomery Chamber and the Bethesda Chamber of Commerce to come to talk to you as well. Gigi?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, County Executive Ike Leggett, and thank you, County Executives Rushern Baker and Ken Ulman, for being here. Not only is Montgomery County affected, but Metro Maryland is affected. These county leaders know that our Metro Maryland and our state of Maryland is the home to small business, veteran-owned businesses, women-owned, and every other kind of small business really dominates our economy. And sequestration is nothing less than an assault on small business. And we are calling on our national leaders to get this resolved so that we can move forward.
There isn't I think that there's less of an understanding about the domino effect the sequestration is going to have on the small businesses, the employees of all the businesses in all of our jurisdictions. Prince George's, Howard, Montgomery, we have a ton. It's primarily small business, but it's more than that. It's about people's jobs, it's about people's livelihoods, and it's about our communities, our neighborhoods. And people don't understand it yet. They will need to understand it. It's just as bad as the fiscal cliff. It needs to be taken care of now.
Thank you very much.
Every month,
Can we get the names and spellings on you guys?
We'll provide it for just one second. Okay. Every month we come to the brink of another impasse that is wreaking havoc with the confidence in the world of financial and political systems. It is time to put partisan politics behind us and do the right thing for the country and really for the world. Please do not hold everyone hostage as a game of brinkmanship continues. We need Congress to act and act decisively to pass a long-term budget plan that will provide us with much-needed stability, one that does not sacrifice the poor and the middle class and continue to, in fact, be unbalanced. We hope that Congress will get the message. We hope that those in the everyday life throughout this region, from the federal employees to the everyday person on the street, will understand the potential impact of what will start on March the 1st. Again, I want to thank you for coming out. I hope that you have an opportunity to pass this word along, the very severe impacts to our community. The numbers of people that you see here will be around for a few minutes to respond to any questions individually. We'll get the name for you.
You know, there's a sense on Capitol Hill that there's not a great deal of urgency because the layoffs won't take place for another month. You know, they have a certain period of time that they have to warn the federal employees before they actually hit them. So are we jumping the gun? Are you jumping the gun by? I mean, is the deadline really not April 1st and not March 1st?
No, I don't think we have to wait until the car actually goes off the cliff to know that it's a dangerous proposition. And we don't need to wait to see the white in their eyes to start responding because of the potential that we see. This challenge is real and real right now. And so what we want within the next week or so is for Congress to act so that we would not see the challenges and the difficulties that will come as a result of this. This is long overdue. And one of the problems here is that the average person does not fully understand or comprehend the impact. And this is why we have not had, in my opinion, the sort of outrage and a response. I don't want to wait a month or two from now after people are laid off, after businesses suffered, after our security is impacted, after our defense is impacted, then say, oh, we had a problem and we should have acted a month or so ago. We need to act now.
Can I add one thing? I think too many people are focusing just on the direct federal employees, people who work and get a paycheck from the federal government. We're talking about contractors. And so already you're seeing people who are either not bringing new employees on or are planning to lay people off as soon as they go into effect. So when I mentioned the Applied Physics Lab, you know, you have a grant from NASA that all of a sudden is put on hold. You lay off the team that's working on that grant. Same thing at NIH, same thing, or a contractor at NIH. I mean, there are so many people who are working from home, working at small offices. You know, go look at all the office buildings in this region, companies that people have never heard of with letters that you've never heard of, where their employees do work for the federal government. And so you will see that, you see it starting now. I mean, I've met with companies all, you know, in Columbia last week, and they're saying, hey, you know, we're not able to bring people on. And in fact, we know that there are people who we will let go as soon as this goes into effect. So it will be a slow build up for some of the federal employees, but it'll be a massive impact for many of these contractors who are throughout all of our communities.
How do you respond, though, to those who say, look, these hard decisions have been a long time in coming, and there are those who are saying that the case for the impact of sequestration is being overstated?
Well, if it's overstated for the state of Maryland to lose 115,000 Marylanders to lose their job, if people think that's overstated, then I would ask those 115,000 moms and dads if losing their job is an overstatement.
I'm sorry, I have to say something here, Kate. It isn't a hard decision. They didn't make a decision. This is action in the absence of decision making. This is a meat axe. And the devastation to our innovation economy cannot be understated. And oh, by the way, the comments made, on the subject of making those decisions now, not able to hire, maybe having to lay people off, very likely having to lay people off, but already businesses that are part of our innovation economy. That's what we have here in Maryland. And our small businesses are the businesses that are waiting for those contracts to be resolved not only directly from the federal government, but our small companies work with our large employers here too. They work with Lockheed Martin. They work with all of our large companies. And oh, by the way, our hospitality industry is very much tied to these decisions too. So no, a decision wasn't made. That's the problem. A hard decision needs to be made, but this isn't it.
Sorry. Yeah, if I can just add to what Ken said and about the small businesses, and also if you look at the cuts at the federal level, they're coming to aids. So all of us are putting together our budgets now that we've got to submit. So if a school is getting state aid or federal aid, now we can't depend on that aid to come in. We don't know. There's the uncertainty. So the big part about this is there is no decision being made. As Gigi said, it's the uncertainty. So we can't even prepare our budgets based on the fact that Congress has not acted or what might happen. So that means we're going to probably make some decisions, some cuts that we have to do based on what's going to happen there.
Any question?
Yeah, what else besides this press conference are you doing? Is there sort of a statewide political plan to flood Capitol Hill?
Well, first of all, we are contacting all the county executives and elected leaders and throughout the state to have them get involved in this process. We are all part of MACO, and we'll be asking them to take a statement as well, approaching our congressional delegation. But I don't think that's what the problem is. It's not with the leaders in Maryland. I think it is with the leaders on Capitol Hill that are not necessarily from Maryland, and all the people who are involved in this process. So what we want to do right now, the message is that we're going to try to get from here is to make certain that the average person out there, the average business, the small business person and others, fully understand the impact. And it's through them that I think that we can get some action. And so this is a concerted effort in that.
If I can piggyback on that, are you talking to your peers in Virginia about doing the same? Because
we have, and
on your side on this.
yes, we have.
Executive Baker, you talk in your quote here in the news release about finding common ground. Well, you three are Democrats. What is it as Democrats that you can offer the Republicans who say, if we don't take advantage of this now and we don't cut now, it's never going to happen?
Well, I think all of us are, I know Ike is an active part of County Executives of America, so we're reaching out to our Republican colleagues who are chief executive officers who are facing some of the same decisions we have to make, and that is with the uncertainty of this sequestration on Capitol Hill. We're all going to have to, figure out what's going to happen with contractors federal contractors, schools decisions. So we're reaching out to our colleagues, both Republicans and Democrats, saying we need everybody flooding Capitol Hill, calling there, and asking them to make a decision so we can go on.
Would you support entitlement reform? Would you support cuts to Social Security, Medicare?
I think what we support is a decision from Congress on what they're going to do to go forward. So then we can prepare how we respond to it. Right now we can't. I don't know if Ike, you want to add or can.
Last time I checked, Governor McDonald from Virginia was a Republican, and he has come out very strongly in asking Congress to intervene and to act and to come up with a plan. Clearly, if you look at what is happening nationally, the president and most Democrats and the leaders of the Democratic Party have said that there probably needs to be cut, but not in this manner, not with this meat hammer approach that we were talking about, and in a balanced manner. And if we had a balanced manner, we would not have the kinds of challenges that we see. So Democrats have not said that should not be cuts. They've simply said that it should be done in a balanced way. And there also should be some revenue on the table as well. Okay, that's just...
I wanted to ask a question to the Chambers of Commerce representatives. A lot of the people on the Republican side are always talking about the need to reduce regulation for small businesses and so forth. How does that play with what's happening to small businesses now? And are Chambers of Commerce doing a concerted effort to reach out to the people who represent them, the people they contribute money to their elections? Because after all, if it's just a fight between Democrats and Republicans, but if you, as some of the people who might be supporting Republicans, or not you, but other Chambers of Commerce and businesses who might feel more aligned with that point of view, are those folks speaking out and saying, you're hurting us as well?
I'm sure my colleagues will want to chime in on this, but Chambers of Commerce are not D's and not R's, they're C for commerce. So we are not carrying water for any political party. We're interested in our companies' long-term success. We're interested in those companies being successful so that they will hire the next generation of talent, the next generation, our veterans, all of the folks that we want to see a vibrant, growing economy. We're not interested in the two political parties or a third or a fourth or a fifth. We don't really care. That's just not what we care about particularly. We're talking to everybody about moving the ball down the field. I mean, one of our favorite mythbusters is that we are not part of some mothership. Do you know what I'm getting at here? Okay, good. So we're independent, and I'm happy to have my colleagues chime in on that. Thank you.
Again, I'm Janann Italiano. I'm with the Bethesda Chevy Chase Chamber. My colleague here is Jane Redeker. She's with Silver Spring Chamber. And we are all part of a bigger network of chambers across the state, the Metro Maryland Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. This has been an ongoing discussion for probably the last 2 years. At every time we have a meeting, it's sequestration. Think about Fort Myers. There's so many areas around Maryland that are affected by this. And this comes down to the small business. It's not about whether, as she said, it's not Republican or Democrat. It's about getting the job done. And yes, there are regulations we don't like, and we'd like to keep on pushing against over-regulating business so that we can start getting into the business of doing business. This doesn't help much. What we need to do is have the people on the Hill, and fortunately we are lucky in our state that our representatives are doing the right thing. Unfortunately, around the country, people aren't paying attention to it, and I think that's the biggest problem. We're seeing it here, we're embedded here, but we're not seeing in other states that they're paying much attention like they did before. We need to get them out there and start pushing on this as well.
Well said.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We'll be around for a few minutes and entertain any questions individually. Thank you very much for coming out.